why you're cautious in general?
Cautious only because, Surbhi, I think, a lot of the good news is in the price, and valuations are what gives me some cause for concern. If you start to extrapolate on an Excel sheet, you can pretty much extrapolate anything out for 24 years. And, obviously, there is every reason to believe that, the targets that we have, Viksit Bharat, so on and so forth, are things that can be achieved. But life is always a lot more cyclical. And I think people are ignoring the risks that are potentially cyclical and just focusing on that extrapolation of what can happen over 10 to 15 years. And to my mind, when people always ask me, what's the biggest risk, I've always told them the biggest risks are risks that even I don't know that they exist. But valuations have actually proven to be the best way to prepare yourself rather than to predict when something can go wrong. And the valuations are telling me this is a time to be cautious.
Fair enough. Well, we promised you coffee, so here it is.
Thank you.
You've seen so many cycles. You've been in this market in various sort of capacities for over 30 years now. What we've seen since COVID, a near one-way run where everything you touch, almost everything turns to gold, and corrections are like 5%, 6% max. Is there a parallel that comes to mind? What do you think of this last 3-year journey?
Two ways to answer that, Surbhi. I think if you actually look at the amount of distance the market has traversed, I would say, in my 30 years, I've seen a market traverse a lot more in terms of gains over a much shorter period of time. So it's not a mind-boggling rally in terms of the distance that it has covered or percentage gains it has delivered over time. You will find many more instances in the past where it's done more in a shorter time. But I think what's been unusual about this one is been, as you rightly pointed out, the lack of volatility. So it's sort of tended to be just up and nothing meaningful in terms of pullbacks. And actually, I would say it's not just the last 4 years. If you actually look at the last 8 years, we haven't had a single calendar year in which the market actually closed negative. But what is more tricky for people is dealing with a market which goes nowhere for a while. And people have not experienced that.
We've not seen
that
that
is
in a while,
something which, I worry about.
The last hour. Anything can happen between the bells. But what happens during the last hour is what matters the most. The biggest market swings. A close-up look at what's driving them. And how the investors are reacting. Watch the most seasoned market mavens guide you through the most important hour of the trading day. NSE Closing Bell. At these times, only on CNBC-TV18 and CNBC-TV18.com.
Thank you for watching CNBC-TV18 and do follow us on all our social media platforms for news, updates and more.